Good morning, everyone. My name is Glenn Hardy from Viewdeck Consulting, and I will be your host today. On behalf of our partners, Chef Software, Skyscape Cloud Services, Synyega, and ourselves, I would like to welcome you to this, the first in our webinar series, introducing DevOps to UK government. Today's webinar is entitled Automate to Migrate and is focused on enabling transformation to the secure cloud using DevOps. Today's webinar is going to consist of both presentation and demonstrations. We're going to show you how DevOps can give real benefits in hosting, service and agility. We're going to demonstrate how using enabling tools like Chef with Skyscape Cloud Services, you can easily migrate from fixed legacy hosting to secure cloud on-demand services. We'll illustrate how you can recapture and capture easily the knowledge in your estate. And we're going to perform some of the critical transformational and operational exercises easily and efficiently. We're also going to discuss some of the key global success stories associated with this technology and identify something a little closer to home. We'll also be looking at the key business benefits and cost savings that adopting this technology can achieve, and more importantly perhaps, how you can achieve them. There will be the opportunity to ask questions at the end, so if you've got any questions as we go, please enter them in the chat box and we'll pick them up at the end of the presentations. Before we start the presentations, I'd like to introduce the team for today. We have Seth Thomas and Charles Richards from Chef, Peter Rossi from Skyscape Cloud Services, Gary Seymour from Viewdeck Consulting, and Tony Crawley from Synyega.
Hello.
Hello.
Without any further ado, it's over to Gary Seymour to provide some background to DevOps. Gary.
Thank you, Glenn. Today we are going to cover a number of different tools and capabilities that we think you can use to simplify, reduce time and hence costs in the whole delivery cycle in infrastructure and hosting, and enable you to be a lot more agile in your ability to deliver. If you're new to the term DevOps, we're going to give you just a little bit of an overview, hopefully bring you up to speed. We'll give you a bit of a background to some of the tools that are available and hopefully get a feel for the type of capabilities. So DevOps enables you to codify your infrastructure. Infrastructure as a code, it's sometimes talked about. And actually the term dev and ops probably don't really encapsulate actually what we're talking about here. The ability to create and simplify that whole delivery cycle, create the agility, not only in just building tin and virtual services, but actually that goes all the way into the development cycle. So going all the way from the ability to develop applications, to test and deploy, to take them through the whole delivery cycle, including what we'll hopefully come to later in our webinars, the ability to simplify and automate a lot of the compliance and audit side of things, which can often slow down some of the technical delivery. Continuous delivery is what we talk about, and the ability to codify and simplify those infrastructure components. So you can take a pattern that you've proven and tested, and very quickly repeat that pattern time and time again across a number of different environments. And once you're happy with it, you can take it from environment to environment, enabling you to go from a development test world into a into a live production service very, very quickly. At the same time, having the full auditability and traceability of that technique, of that infrastructure. It gives you the ability to repeat. So once you've done it once, you don't need to use man time to not only redeploy but also then to test and confirm. Once you've done some of that testing, that gives you some of the confidence that the packages and services that you are creating are being reapplied. So for example, if you have a service that requires you to lock down certain ports, or it has to stop certain user accounts from being accessible, then once you've tested that in your development environment, DevOps gives you the ability to very quickly deploy that to other hosts, to other infrastructures, to other environments, and continue to ensure that that scenario remains. So today we are going to look at a number of the capabilities that are available and how we think we can use those to simplify, speed up, and improve the underlying costs in that delivery cycle, and how you can use those as part of a package of capabilities to greatly reduce your expending in your estates. So what we get by combining DevOps, the ability to combine infrastructure as a code with secure hosting platforms like the Skyscape cloud service, is the ability to very quickly take services and solutions that are based on legacy environments and rapidly take those through to secure cloud-based solutions that can very quickly scale, that can be deployed rapidly, where you can migrate those services from a test to a production, a pre-prod, with agility, giving you that speed of transformation that you're looking for. One of the byproducts of doing that, of course, is that enables you to take control. So you are codifying and you're capturing your infrastructure setup, the tools, services, and rules that are based not just in the tool sets you're using, but also in the compliance and the security platforms that you put in place. So by using that technology, you're giving yourselves the ability to very quickly transfer to different solutions, to different suppliers, without having to go through large knowledge capture, redefining exercises, and then retesting. You're hopefully simplifying that greatly. So it gives you that ability to be very agile, very rapid, and to transform your business quickly. And hence look at the costs and the resources that are being utilized, being a lot more responsive to business demands. So GDS, as part of the Government Service Design Manual, the tenets that are used as part of their transformational policy piece and are flowed down to suppliers to ensure that they comply with the strategic direction of the change agenda that's going on at the heart of government at the moment, does use DevOps and does identify DevOps as being absolutely critical to that, and pulls out a number of key cultural automation, measurement and sharing policy statements that all suppliers and departments should follow to help achieve that transformational agility that they're looking for. And I think the policy statements go really without saying. They reaffirm the key issues that we're trying to address around in providing a sharing and a collaborative culture where changes and delivery is done once and then replicated many times, that through that change you're able then to measure the outcomes that are occurring, and the knowledge capture, sharing of information then becomes embedded in something that is transferable and can be used to provide the agility across the organizations. So we're going to have a very quick look at what is the Chef toolset, the DevOps solution that we're going to demonstrate to you today, and have a quick look at the Skyscape platform provided by Skyscape Cloud Services, which is probably arguably one of the leading secure UK-based hosting providers designed specifically for UK government, that we think combined with the Chef product provides a really willing combination and can help you with that transformation. Most of you should have heard of Skyscape. If not, then we'll give you just a very quick overview and just bring you up to speed on that. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Charles from Chef, who's going to give you an overview of the Chef solution.
Thanks, Gary. It's Charles here from Chef. This diagram here really depicts what Chef's actually about. So with Chef, you can describe how your IT is configured, and Chef will automatically build that environment based upon code. So we use code to build environments, so your environment is described in code. Chef Delivery provides the automation pipeline that controls things like security and compliance checks, and that makes sure that whatever passes out through the delivery pipeline actually meets your defined policies. So you can now set policy for things like security and compliance and make sure that your environment is built in that way. Chef Analytics, it's the control window, and this is a monitoring capability that checks everything through the pipeline and actually goes out into production as well. So if you have a change in production, once things have been promoted into production, what the analytics and Chef server elements will do is to reset the environment to make sure that they stay in a state which you've defined. And so that is really a quick overview of what Chef's about. Thank you.
Thanks very much. My name's Peter Rossi. I'm Director of Cloud Research and Life Science at Skyscape Cloud Services. We are a UK public sector focused cloud service provider, and I'm here to just talk about a bit about Skyscape, do a quick overview of it. So Skyscape conforms to the standard NIST definitions of the characteristics of cloud. It's a fully on-demand self-service platform that you can use our control panel to provision and configure your resources. We have a number of different network access points, whether that's directly over the internet or via public services network for PSN or N3 for health, and a number of other secure government gateways. We do resource pooling, so it's fundamentally a multi-tenanted cloud. So you get the efficiencies of scale, the benefits of scale there, and it's a highly secure architecture that's been designed in conjunction with GCHQ and CESG in the UK. Rapid elasticity, so we maintain a large amount of spare capacity in our platform, enabling our customers to scale up their service or scale it down according to their demand. And it's a fully measured service, so our contract is by the hour. Our minimum contract is by the hour. So we constantly monitor the resource utilization across our platform, and that's what we bill for on a utility basis, and our customers only use what they pay for. So we conform to the standard NIST delivery models. We have infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. Our main offerings in the infrastructure as a service arena are compute as a service, so virtual machines, storage, and networking on demand. We also have cloud storage, so high volume, low cost, object-based storage, accessible via an API over HTTPS. We also have a platform as a service offering based around Cloud Foundry, where you can deploy your applications directly into our platform service without having to worry about running the infrastructure. You just deploy the applications into us, and we run that and scale it accordingly, depending on the demand. We also have Hadoop in the cloud for big data workloads, if you're looking into that. It's based around Cloudera or Hortonworks, fully deployed and maintained by Skyscape on demand and built by the gigabyte of storage usage. We also have a number of software as a service offerings, mainly based around email and collaboration as a service. So going quickly into an overview of our architecture, what we have is two main data centers split across different geographic locations over 80 miles apart. And we then have an assured official platform, which is connected to PSN assured, internet, N3, and we also have a hybrid connect model which allows you to bring in direct connectivity over leased line or in PLS. We also have an elevated platform which in old money is IL3 or restricted data, which is a further secured and locked down environment, which is connected to PSN Protect, RLI for the MOD. We also have hybrid connect and other legacy connections. You can also bring in your own connectivity here. We also have a somewhat unique area that sits between the two, which is our cross-domain zone, which allows our clients, dependent on the security and insurance requirements, to deploy a data guard in this area, which allows them to traverse the assured into the elevated zone. So basically being able to push data in a secure and inspected way across the boundary into the elevated platform. So we can take structured data in the format of XML or JSON and pass it through. That's in the cross-domain guard. We also have a cross-domain solution area which allows our clients to then build out their own guards based around the different workflows that they may have. We also have a secure remote access solution in here. So if you require access to the elevated environment over an internet connection, we can offer a service there that delivers that VPN. And then there's an assurance wrap that goes over the top of that the client needs to work through with their CIRO and the Skyscape CIRO to get that signed off. So here's a quick overview of the different products that we have in the different levels. As you can see, they exist in both data centers at both service levels, storage compute, Hadoop Big Data, PaaS, Cloud Foundry, and our SaaS offerings. And you can then start building out an environment from there. So to give you a quick overview of our compute as a service design options around vCloud. So areas we have an organization, which is where you would then start deploying your different virtual data centers into. And that's effectively a compute resource that comes with an edge gateway or firewall to protect at the boundary. Then have organization VDC networks, or org VDC networks, which is a bit like a VLAN, and we encapsulate those privately across our network, so customers can start to build out their LAN environment to connect all the different services that they're building out. We then have a VApp concept that sits inside of the virtual data center. So that's a container for VMs where you might want to put a collection of VMs, so an Exchange environment or your web servers or your app servers. The VMs then drop into those VApps. So in this example, you can see that the web server is on one VApp and we have an app and a database in another, and they're both connected to different networks. There's also a concept of VApp edges where you can deploy a firewall within the VApp to protect that further. We also offer catalogs. So once you've built your servers up, you can create master templates and add those to the catalog to redeploy later if you want to. So as you can see here. And you can also deploy additional virtual data centers, whether that's in our Farnborough location or Corsham, and you can then deploy from the catalog or build DR resilient application services using that. We also offer services through our partners for global load balancing and DDoS protection at the front edge if you want to consume those services. So that's a quick overview of Skyscape, what we do, the technology and the assurance levels.
Thank you for that, Peter, and that nicely leads us on to the first of our two demonstrations today, when Seth is going to give us just a very quick overview, a bit of technology showing you how Chef, being used in the Skyscape platform, can be used to very quickly spin up, enable certain solutions, and then use to automate and greatly improve the velocity of delivery. Over to you, Seth.
For our first demonstration, we're going to show you how to get started with Chef by showing you how to bootstrap a node and register it with the Chef server. What we can see here is a Chef server that currently has no nodes registered. So we're going to switch to our workstation. From our workstation, we're going to bootstrap another node. So we supply the IP address and some basic authentication information. And then what this will do is it'll reach out to the node, create the new node on the Chef server side, and then it will pull down the latest version of Chef by default, install it, configure it, and then at the end of the run, this will register all that information back to the Chef server. If there's a run list or a role specified, it will also apply that at bootstrap time. Now our node has been bootstrapped, and so we can go back to the web interface, refresh the page, and we'll see that our node is there. We can see some information about it, its platform, a fully qualified domain name if present, its IP address, its uptime, last check-in, and then the environment applied. What we're going to do next is we're going to add a recipe to this node. So a recipe is how Chef delivers changes to these pieces of infrastructure. In order to do that, we're going to click on the node. We're going to go down here to the run list, and we're going to edit the run list. When we edit the run list, we are going to use this site DBAAS cookbook. And we're going to just drag and drop that into the run list. We're going to save it. That has applied it already. Now this applies this on the server side. In order to enact this change on the client, what we're going to do is SSH in to our node. We're going to run Chef client. Now in a normal scenario, Chef client would be running on an interval, so every 15, 30, 45 minutes, or whatever time you define. For the examples here, we're going to actually be doing this manually. So we've just executed the Chef client, and this has actually applied a web server recipe. So Apache will be running, it'll be running with content, and then we will navigate to the web page. And just like that, we have deployed our website, and here it is with all its lovely lorem ipsum.
Thank you, Seth, for that. We are going to now start to move on and show how we can use this DevOps capability built on top of the Skyscape platform to deliver some real value and some agility in the delivery. I'm going to cover a couple of examples for you, and we're going to start with the Home Office exit checks. Back in 2015, Viewdeck was part of a solution with Border Systems to help the Home Office deliver a new exit checks capability for the UK. The brief was quite simple. We had 9 weeks to not only complete an application, go through UAT, deployment, accreditation, compliance, and then roll out commissioning for deployment across, at the time, half a dozen locations around the UK for collecting protectively marked material. The environment was complex. It was 25 nodes per environment with 4 nodes, working in a active warm configuration, dual data centers, using the Skyscape platform, the pre-accredited Skyscape platform, which enabled us to make a number of leaps in the accreditation and compliance process. Critical to that, of course, was the Chef tooling, which enabled us to build a number of recipes and templates that we could quickly, once we're proven in the development environment, could be deployed through testing it into live, enable us to take not just the application but the whole hosting environment through that process over the course of the 9 weeks to achieve that goal. The ability to repeat, to show repeatability of those policy enforcements and the lockdown compliance that we were applying gave us the ability to convince the accreditor that we had achieved a level of maturity in the environment and go through not only a pen test but also the fixing in that time to and deploy that across the 4 environments to enable it to go live on time. That was a great success, and against much concern and risk, we managed to achieve that. Another good example is Standard Bank. I'm going to hand back to Charles just to give you an overview of how Standard Bank have used the Chef platform. Charles.
Standard Bank is actually a really good example. This is a large international organisation, financial in this particular instance, who had a very complex, matrixed organisation, heavily integrated, lots of complexity, silos of organisations in the organisation. And the challenge these guys had was around making their business go faster. They needed to improve their customer satisfaction rates, plus also they needed to become a lot more agile and to reduce their cost of IT. They need to make IT much more efficient and much more streamlined. That was from a commercial point of view as well as from a functional point of view. Also, what they wanted to do was to make sure that they had security baked into what they were doing. So we actually met with the guys and we spent about 3 or 4 months with them, helping them to build out a DevOps practice. And the headline here is that initially, before we actually spoke to the organisation, the piece of work that they automated with Chef would generally take about 6 months to make a change to that particular piece of the organisation. And once they'd actually deployed Chef and were using a DevOps practice, they were able to get those changes down to 18 minutes. So this is the ability to pass changes through an automation pipeline, built as code, out into production, and that would take 18 minutes. So a significant change, but they also had the assurance that what was built, they knew exactly what was being built, and that actually met their policy. So they actually picked a customer-facing portal as the first project, and it had a significant impact on the business and resonated across the organisation. And other parts of the business thereafter wanted to actually automate their business. So it was a huge success, and they're now growing Chef across their organisation and growing out their DevOps practice.
Thanks. So Skyscape's mantra has always been easy to adopt, easy to use, and easy to leave. With no minimum contract, we build by the hour. So we've built this highly scalable and secure environment specifically for the UK public sector in the UK, run by security cleared people. The services are already there and available to consume quickly, so that services can be delivered to the UK citizen rapidly without spending time worrying about data centres and building tin. So most of our customers are already starting to move to, and if not, already fully adopting tooling around DevOps to help them achieve this goal. And the Skyscape platform is primed for using that. We've already worked with most of the central government departments, including the HMRC, DVLA, Home Office, and many more, and seen these guys transition from their legacy hosting environments to starting to use cloud infrastructure as a service to becoming sort of fully digital cloud consumers out there. It's an exciting time.
So we're going to summarise so far and just give some highlights of some of the efficiencies, some of the bullets that you might throw at your finance officer if he's looking to try and balance the books with spending review commitments against operational expenditure, and how a bunch of technology infrastructure tooling can help with the business transformation and provide the change that's required. So obviously there are some clear service improvements that come out of adopting this technology, the ability to automate delivery, both to change, but also from a cloud delivery point of view, obviously getting the economies of scale and the simplification of the estate, using a bandwidth on demand or a pay-as-you-go model, which then obviously reduces your cost when in the middle of the night or weekends or when system demand is low, taking advantage of the pay-as-you-use model. Looking at your software licenses, the move to cloud can be an enabler to actually not just review but also transform your estate. And hopefully what we've identified is that doesn't have to be firstly a complicated exercise, let alone a long or expensive exercise. There are quick wins that can be found not just in license management but also in the transformation piece. It's all part of the journey, enabling you to release the resources to help the change to continue that we all know is critical to help the services moving forward. So that nicely takes us on to the software license and asset management part of this. I'm going to pass over to Tony Crawley from Synyega to give you some of his insight and background into how to release some capital and resources from your underutilized assets. Tony.
Thanks, Gary. Hello, everyone. My name is Tony Crawley. I'm from Synyega. We are an independent award-winning software licensing consultancy. As many of you will know, software is complex and it can be very expensive. It's a big part of the IT budget these days. But because of that, it gives us a great opportunity to deliver some really big cost savings. And it's a great response to the public sector cost challenges that we face now. And I understand quite a bit about that. For the last 4 years, I've worked as government's top licensing advisor, saving many millions for the taxpayer. So this stuff really does work. We're trying to change the market in our own way. We're independent, so we don't take any money from anyone else in the market. I still find it quite amazing to see that so many organisations are still taking advice on software from resellers, and these are the guys who profit directly the amount of software you buy. But I think things are changing, and what we're doing, it seems to be working. Our high-end mix of commercial and technical skills have helped to save our clients over 500 million in savings. So where do we fit into the webinar? IT today is in such an exciting period of transition. We can see that in the topics in today's webinar. And the key theme for me has been velocity. You know, we're looking at speeding up delivery of change, we're looking at agility in service, we're looking at scaling rapidly, automation. These things are all possible now. But software licensing arrangements are honestly quite retro and old-fashioned and can be quite a drag and cause inertia on what you want to achieve. You know, the contracts either flat out won't let you do it, whether that's moving to the cloud or virtualizing, or two, they will make it prohibitively expensive. This is why you really need a commercial focus, either to break through those contractual restrictions or by optimizing the deals to make your planned transition as cost effective as possible to make it viable. And what we've seen is in the biggest savings in organizations that we've been delivered is where the organization will have that commercial and contractual focus alongside the technology to really exploit those changes, and that's where we see the biggest savings. So how do we approach the commercials? Well, the first phase is the discovery phase.
First of all, we map the estate. We can either use existing data, chef data, whatever is available. We have our own ex-offender specialists who can do this for you. But what we're aiming to do is get a complete picture of the estate. So this is very rich data. This is what software you have, what versions you have, what hardware is it residing on. And most importantly, we put the commercial slant on this to identify the inefficiencies within the estate, whether you've got bad deals, underutilized deals, whether that be low value, underdeployed software. This unearths great opportunities for us, and often it can trigger tremendous creativity across the organization, which is not only useful for commercials, but enterprise architects, for example. I didn't know we were still on Oracle 6. And what we do in the second phase is then use this data to see what we can optimize now. So in this second phase, more often than not, we can deliver savings without making any technological changes. And you might be able to too. So to give you a practical example of this, practical lesson that the listeners, you may be able to take away to your organization to see whether you can save some serious money, I'm going to pick an industry standard product many of you will be familiar with. Oracle database, quite often is a big part of the IT budget. And we're going to see whether there's a practical example of you can save money within your own IT estate. So the licensing for database is done in two ways. There's a processor license generally, and there's a named user plus or NUT license. Now, to be cost optimal, these licenses need to fit the characteristics of your environment. Now, a very simple hard and fast rule is the processor licenses should be matched to production usage, and the NUT licenses should be matched to non-production. Now, if you have this the opposite way round in your estate, i.e. you're using processor licenses to cover your non-production and NUT licenses to cover your production, you've got a really big opportunity there to halve your software costs. It's that significant, and your CIO, CFO might be quite pleased about that. And we've got many practical examples where we've done this recently. So the first example would be we optimized a major government system, and again, this is without technological change. We reduced the licensing cost from £1 million a year down to £40,000 a year. We also have another example of where we optimized major government procurement, and we halved the cost of that procurement within a 30-minute phone call from £2 million to £1 million. So these are very powerful, practical techniques that will save you money just by looking at the licensing aspect alone. But when you do this alongside the technological change, that is when you really see the huge cost savings. So we then come to the third part, which is really using that discovery data. We can focus on areas that will deliver us the biggest financial benefit. For example, our esteemed partners on the call today can make your systems better, faster, leaner, smaller footprints. But improvement to these systems may not always directly translate to cost savings. With a commercial focus, you can ensure that they will. We've had a recent example of this with a major government department where we helped consolidate its databases onto a shared gridded infrastructure. This saved $3 million alone on the licensing cost, but not only that, it freed up software licenses that can be used for future systems or onboarding. This not only will give a cost saving, but it made the deployment of those systems quicker because you didn't have to wait, you didn't have to go out to procure the licenses, they were already there available, which ties the cost saving part to today's theme really of velocity. So that's the end of the presentation. So we talked a little bit about the commercial angle, a little bit about what we do. I've talked about a practical example, a practical technique that I hope you can all use in your organizations to deliver some serious cost savings. Any licensing questions, feel free to get in touch. I hope you found it useful, and thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Tony, for that. Now we're going to move on to our second demonstration today, where Seth is going to show us a bit more about how you can take these tools, the DevOps capability, and utilize them in the service space to promote changes to environments, and to control multiple deliveries in different states. So give you an idea of how you can achieve that agility in your service deployment. Over to you, Seth.
In this next part of our demo, we're going to cover making changes, promoting them through environments, and also restricting what certain environments can run. Now we have our test01 node already located in the underscore default environment, which, as you may infer from the name, is the default environment when none is provided. So let's first go ahead and assign this an environment that more fits how this node exists in our infrastructure. So we're going to go down here, and we have 3 environments already. The existing default of prod and test. As this is our test node, we're going to select the test environment. Save that change. Now this node is in a test environment, so we can actually easily identify it from others, and we can also do things like restricting the versions of cookbooks it's allowed to run. So next, we're going to create another node, and we're going to put it in a prod environment. So again, we're going to use knife bootstrap. Notice we're using the capital E flag for prod. And as with before, we're going to install the latest version of Chef. It will run and register with the Chef server. The only difference between the past run is that we've added this environment flag. And we can see that this prod01 node has been added to our Chef server. Again, we see the IP address, its last check-in, and we notice that the environment is prod. Now that we have multiple environments, it's safer to promote a change between them. So what we're going to do is make a change to this existing cookbook. In this case, we can see that at the top left we have Skyscape and then the environment name. Well, we didn't want it to look exactly like that, so let's go ahead and go to our cookbook. In the cookbook, that particular field is driven by an attribute. What we've done is we've already changed this to be environment : and then the environment name. Looks a little bit nicer. What we've also done is incremented the version of the cookbook in our metadata, which is good development practice anytime you're making changes. And these version numbers also allow you to safely control which versions particular environments are running. Looking at the policy tab on our Chef server, we can see that we've uploaded our latest version. You can also see down in the left that we have multiple versions stored on the Chef server. So we have 0.1.2, which is the latest, and 0.1.1. Now we're going to go to our Chef node. Again, this is our test node, so test01. We're going to run Chef client again to make sure we apply the latest changes. The test environment does not have any restrictions. So now we've applied this latest change. Now this change we wouldn't want to go automatically out to prod. Here we can see that we've applied the changes we desired to our test environment, so now we've changed the content of the website. Also in the Policy tab, we can edit our environments and set cookbook version constraints. So here we have the prod environment, and we're actually setting the version constraint for the site DB cookbook to equal version 0.1.1. This will prevent us from applying any newer versions or any older versions. This will only apply 0.1.1. Now that we've set these version constraints, we're going to go back to our Nodes tab. And now we're going to edit the run list for our prod01 node to include the same recipe that we were using before, site DB. Let's go ahead and save this. Now we've applied this, we're going to go to the node and run Chef client. Notice that at the top when it was synchronizing cookbooks, it was actually pulling down 0.1.1, even though a later version is available. The reason it did this is because of the cookbook version constraints. Here we can see the changes that we just deployed to our prod node. Notice in the top left, it's still using the old format of cookbook version 0.1.1, so we know that we've safely deployed these changes while our new changes are out on test. But now we've validated these changes in test, and we'd like to promote them. So we're going to go to the Manage interface, and from the Manage interface, we're just going to edit the environment. So here we've set our version constraint, as we saw earlier, to 0.1.1. So let's go ahead and bump that up to 0.1.2. We're going to save that constraint. Now that that constraint has been applied, we can go back to the node. From the node, we're going to execute chef client. And as per normal, it will synchronize any new updates that it finds. Notice that it's found 0.1.2 now of the cookbook. It's going to update the content as we requested. And notice that it's only updated 1 out of 9 resources. This is nice because Chef will only do the work that it needs to do. It won't do work that it has already done. And here are our changes now deployed on prod 01. We can also look at the manage interface to see what's actually happened in these deploys. So we can see some statistics for success and failure in deploying out to our nodes. We can also, very importantly, look at the run history. And we can see all the different times that we've applied, the number of resources that were executed out of the total number of resources. And if we drill down into one of the particular runs, it'll actually show us the resources that did change, in this case just a template, the run list that was applied, as well as giving us a full error log in case there should be an error. This provides a very useful audit trail and allows you to also get insight into what is changing in your environment at any time.
And thank you, Seth, for that. So how do you make this work? What are the key steps to place you on the right path to achieving that agility and greatness in the infrastructure estate? Well, from our experience, the right processes often remain those that have been tried and tested in the past, that have previously worked well in delivering innovative ICT-enabled change. Our recommendation is always to start small, think big, using an iterative agile approach, learn as you go along, delivering the quick wins that are available, build on the successes, and use that collateral to deliver further transformation from the good credibility that's already been created. Help embed those processes into the organization, transform not just the organizational outcome, but the actual delivery vehicle and the people and the processes around you, so it bakes in that change. And obviously, as you do that, create the lasting benefit. So today in this webinar we've covered a wide range of capabilities and solutions that you could look to help deliver value and benefit back to your business. We've looked at delivery agility, service transformation activity and how that can be improved through DevOps, delivering actual business transformation by enabling organizational change, asset and license release, as well as actually delivering agility in the delivery cycle and the organization so that you can actually respond to business requirements as necessary. So the final stages of this webinar, I'm going to pass back to Charles and ask Charles just to give us some examples of how Chef technology is being used by some of the largest organizations in the world to deliver some absolutely fantastic results. Charles.
So these are some really good examples here. So let's start with Yahoo. Yahoo are a really big user of Chef. They operate about 250,000 nodes across their organization, and they're all managed by Chef. Lots of different blueprints that they're running, but they know exactly how each of those blueprints is built because it's all built by Chef. The great thing here, as an example, is patch management. How do they manage to deploy patches, security patches and updates across such a large estate, which has got lots of different types of environment? And so with Chef, what they're able to do is to stand up each of those configuration groups and to thoroughly test them, knowing that they are not going to have a negative impact on production, and push those out across the organization. And they can actually bring in a patch, fully test it, and deploy it across the whole estate, that's 250,000 nodes, in under 6 hours, which is very impressive. Let's take our standard bank we've already spoken about, so we'll skip that one. But let's pick up Target. Target's another great example of an organization who were under pressure from the likes of Amazon. They needed to create a click and collect service, and they needed to be able to make their IT more efficient in terms of speed and in terms of cost. So they were able to provide this click and collect service where consumers can actually purchase things online and then go and collect in store. But one of the things they found in this exercise, and you can see on this next slide here, that the cost savings they made were absolutely phenomenal. And this is a fairly typical situation. They're changing from a manual traditional build that can take a significant amount of time into an automated build. And you can just see by the numbers, the cost savings on a per server basis and also across just a deployment of 200 servers, you can see it's a significant saving. So hopefully this really gives you an indication that it's not only about speed and security, but there are some significant cost savings by adopting an automated DevOps type of operation.
We've reached the end of the formal presentations today, and I would like to thank all of our contributors. I trust that you've found the session both insightful and informative. This is the first of 2 webinars. In part 2, we look further into how you can use Chef Compliance and the Skyscape platform to greatly simplify your audit assurance and accreditation needs. We look at continuous delivery to ensure that environment is as was designed. And by codifying your infrastructure, you can go beyond automation and achieve continuous assessment, continuous compliance, and policy enforcement. Combined with Skyscape's secure UK-based platform, implement accreditable, secure solutions in record time. If you want to learn more about how you can get fit to help meet your CSR targets for the next financial year, we offer a range of services. And which of those services is the right one for you? You can identify the right service to get those quick wins and start your migration to a secure cloud. You can look for the license rationalization opportunities to drive your OPEX down and fund further transformation. Or you can knowledge capture or codify your existing estate to enable commercial flexibility in your hosting decisions. All these services and products are available on G Cloud 7.